Ladies and gentlemen, I decided to review Darci this week just on a whim. It's a weapon that I use a lot for range testing, but I rarely ever pull the trigger on it, so I was curious to see how it was holding up. Then Bungie comes along in their most recent TWAB and announces that Darci is going to be buffed in December. Incoming flinch will be reduced while accuracy and recoil will be improved when personal assistant is active. They're also going to add a 1-second delay before the perk deactivates, and increase the damage by 20%. This video for me was done, scheduled, and in the books. I think it was the first time in my YouTube career that I was actually ahead of the game. But in light of the upcoming changes, I did go back in to rework some of the aspects of the video. And while I won't be able to speak on the improvements to recoil, flinch, and accuracy because the change isn't live yet, we can consider the 1-second deactivation delay on the perk, and adding 20% more damage to already existing damage values is not a monumental task. So most of this review is going to be on how Darci sits currently, but I will make the necessary adjustments where applicable. Onward to my full breakdown of Darci though, version 1.2, starting out with the stats and perks. Alright, the Data Analysis, Reconnaissance, and Cooperative Intelligence device, also known as Darci, is an ARC exotic sniper rifle that does reside in the heavy slot. This weapon fires at 140 rounds per minute with 7 rounds in the magazine. For the stats, I'll pull in some solid numbers from d2gunsmith.com, and they're more or less pretty consistent with what we would expect to see from a rapid-fire sniper rifle. Darci is coming up a little bit light on the reload speed, but it does have strong marks in handling, a perfect recoil direction at 100, and a 96 in stability, which is being boosted up by the weapon's exotic catalyst. Darci's intrinsic trait is Personal Assistant. Aim at an enemy to view its health and other critical information in the scope. I'll briefly break this down when we get into our weapon testing. The exotic perk on Darci is Target Acquired. When Personal Assistant is active, this weapon has better target acquisition, aka aim assist, and deals significantly more precision damage. And with that, let's move into the PvE section so we can start putting Darci to the test. Alright, starting out with Darci's scope intel. When we hover the red dot over an enemy for just a moment, Personal Assistant will activate. The target gains a red highlight and the scope displays some information on the enemy. In the top left corner, you have the enemy's health percentage, and just underneath that, you have the enemy's overshield percentage if it's a shielded target. On the bottom left, you have the physical distance to a target, along with a meter that will fluctuate depending on that distance. On the bottom right, you have the enemy's power level. Maybe this was helpful back in year 1, but we've long outrun its functionality at this point. It's always going to display 100. So, unless you're range testing a weapon, the scope's kind of just a gimmick. But if you were curious about what it was displaying, now you know. For the reload speeds, at base, Darci can be reloaded and fired in 2.61 seconds. With a single but expensive sniper rifle loader mod applied, we can knock this down to 2.1 seconds. For the ammo reserves, at base we can carry 23 total rounds. With a single sniper rifle reserves mod equipped, we can pocket 26, and if you do want to throw 2 of them on, you can carry up to 28. But on to the damage numbers. First, the disclaimer though. PvE damage numbers are variable and will change depending on content scaling or enemy tier. This is why I do all of my testing in a conflux law sector on Nessus versus Carl the Colossus, to keep these damage numbers consistent and comparable from video to video. Alright, with the damage, current values first. Versus Carl, a body shot from Darci will score 5,079 points of damage, and a base crit will score 16,482 points of damage. When Target Acquired kicks in, the body shot, as the perk states, will remain unchanged, while the precision damage jumps to 22,199, showing a 35% damage increase. Once activated, the perk will remain active unless your reticle slips off the target. After the changes in December, you will get a little leeway here, having 1 second to get back on the target. But maximum damage within a single magazine comes in at 155,393. Time to fire off all 7 rounds is 2.61 seconds, putting the single mag damage per second at 59,537. And I mean, that's not too bad, especially considering it doesn't have some super powerful artifact mod boosting its damage output. In December though, we are getting that 20% PvE damage boost, which is simple enough to showcase. We just give ourselves a 20% damage buff. Body shots are going to move up to 6,095. A base crit's going to land for 19,779. And with Target Acquired active, 26,638. Total damage within a single magazine is now increased to 186,466. Single mag damage per second, 71,443. If the intention behind the buff was to get Darci in more players' hands, I think this is going to do it. In terms of raw damage though, it does have a problem, even with the updated figures. And that problem's name is Cloud Strike. A sniper with the same elemental damage type, the same fire rate, but it's a special weapon. Now its per bullet impact damage is a little bit lower, but when you get those lightning strikes rolling in, it can pour on a ton of damage to a single target. The clip you're watching here is pulled from my review of Cloud Strike, which I will have linked in the description if you'd like to check it out. But for Darci's performance in PvE, I gotta say, it is a very nice feeling sniper rifle. It has a lighter 40 zoom scope, so if the heavier 50 plus zoom scopes tend to bother you a little bit, no worries here. And when touching off a bullet from Darci, the weapon hardly moves. The high stability and maxed out recoil direction make the kick from this weapon almost non-existent. And I want to show you this side by side versus another rapid fire sniper, like the Ikelos SR. This one has a 36 in stability and a 57 for the recoil direction. I'm firing each weapon at the max fire rate, with no attempt to control the recoil at all. With the Ikelos, we're shooting the sky with the last 2 bullets. With Darci, we haven't even made it halfway up the wall. This is a very stable sniper rifle. And it's going to see even less recoil in December once the changes go live when you do have personal assistant activated. And the damage output isn't bad. We're creeping up on 60,000 in terms of single mag damage per second. Over 70,000 once the weapon gets buffed. And the lack of recoil does make hitting that damage somewhat realistic, especially against bigger, slower moving targets. I do think this is a better weapon than most people would credit it for being. The problem is, it's a heavy weapon, and other weapons in that slot can outperform it. Especially here in Season 15, where particle deconstruction is a thing. This may not be the case in the future, but still. And as we mentioned earlier, Cloud Strike, a comparable comparison that can dump significantly more damage. And Darci, like all sniper rifles, does require some degree of precision. If you're hitting bodies, missing shots, breaking contact with your reticle, all these things can result in a substantial loss of damage. Also, like a handful of other Year 1 exotics, Darci just doesn't feel all that exotic. You hold your sight on a target for a split second, and you get bonus damage. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind free damage, but interesting and exciting, this is not. But overall, Darci in PvE, not bad for what it is, and it's only going to get better once those changes go live. On to PvP though, so we can size this weapon up in the Crucible. In the Crucible, Darci will score 100 points of damage on a body shot, and remember body shot damage is not affected by the target acquired perk. A base crit's going to register 322 points of damage, and with target acquired procced, we're looking at 520 points of damage. So the optimal time to kill is obviously instantaneous with a single crit, with the body shot time to kill coming in at 0.43 seconds with 2 shots landed. Versus a Guardian in a roaming super. Hold on a second. Versus a Guardian in a roaming super. A crit with target acquired procced will down the target in a single shot. But you gotta watch, cause this perk will not proc when a Guardian is invisible. You can see here when Agent Sparkles is cloaked in her Spectral Blade super. She doesn't get the highlight, and the one-hit kill is not secured. With Darci, when you're pulling heavy ammo off of the wall, you will get 5 shots. And one more little nugget of information, Guardian's power levels will appear in your scope. Agent Sparkles is power level 1273, 273 appears in the bottom right hand corner, just dropping the 1. Is this useful in the moment-to-moment gameplay? No, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Pros to using Darci in the Crucible. The higher handling does help out with a quicker aim down sight speed, while the fast fire rate and low recoil are great for getting out follow-up shots when necessary. And when target acquired activates, the weapon does seem to get a lot more aim assist. But that's also the core problem of using this gun in the Crucible. You don't get to reap the big aim assist boost or the damage increase unless you proc target acquired. And without it, honestly, this doesn't feel like a great sniper rifle. Now, it does proc relatively fast, maybe half a second. Problem is, you don't have that kind of time when you're sniping in the Crucible. As soon as your crosshairs land on a player's head, you better be pulling the trigger. Now, you might be able to get away with it when aiming at a target who's unaware of your presence, but if you're sitting there trying to wait and give the perk time to proc, that's plenty of time for your target to jump, dodge, move, break line of sight, or put some bullets downrange in your direction, potentially flinching you off your shot. That time frame in PvE is inconsequential most of the time, but in PvP, it matters. So if you're really not going to get much use out of the perk, you're kind of just left with a very stable sniper rifle. Which I mean may have its merits, but I'm not going to give up both my exotic slot and my heavy slot for that. For the verdict, in PvP, Darci is what it is. But in PvE, it did surprise me a little bit. Just as it sits currently, it hadn't fallen as far behind the pack as I thought it had. And with a 20% damage buff incoming, this weapon could see a lot more play. Is Darci a top shelf must equip weapon? Right now, no, but we're gonna have to see how things pan out in the future. This season, it's still going to have a tough time competing with linear fusion rifles, who are getting buffed also and can continue to make use of particle deconstruction. But when sniper rifles do make their way back into the seasonal artifact in the future, this year 1 exotic could get some serious consideration. But hey, if you did enjoy the video, like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications. Any support that you're willing to lend, I greatly appreciate. The Ironworker Gaming Discord link is in the description. Leave a comment down below if you have something to add to the conversation. You guys are awesome. I will catch you on the next one.